Hey everyone, I'm here today with my September wrap-up. I want to apologize first for all of the noise that you will probably be hearing outside. There's lots of reconstructing and remodeling happening at this complex, so there's never a silent moment here. So I just have to film whenever I can. So I want to take you through the books I finished in September, the first being Homegoing by Jersingsandreads. This novel was very good. I wanted to like it more, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Basically, the novel starts off in 18th century Ghana, and you get two half-sisters that are born to different families, and slowly throughout not slowly, actually, that's one of my problems, every chapter trickles down throughout generation after generation for 300 years, and you end up modern day, one part of the family is in Africa and the other ends up in America. And it's really amazing what the author does throughout this novel. It's something I've never read before. The problems I had with it was that I just felt that each section was too fast. And they were kind of predictable in the sense that it goes, you get a background of whoever the chapter focuses on, and then we find the love interest, and then we get a baby, which springs the next chapter. So I just wanted there to be more time taken with each story, and obviously that's not going to happen because one novel taking place over 300 years, it's going to go quickly. So it would be amazing to read more about each of these characters. So that was one of my qualms. The other problem I had was the ending. It just was a little too predictable of what happens at the end. But I still gave this novel 4 stars. The writing was absolutely gorgeous. It was an amazing feat of writing, and the concept of this novel is pretty amazing. I loved that it sort of had this feeling of sitting down and hearing an oral history of a family. The writing was just so descriptive and absolutely just gorgeous. So yeah, that's Homegoing by Jersingsandreads, a really, really good book. I highly recommend it. If this sounds like it might be interesting to you. Then I read The Gene by Siddhartha Mukherjee. This thing was a beast. This is basically a history of genes and the gene. I really enjoyed it. If this was my first dive into science writing, it was good. It's not my favorite thing to read about, I have discovered. I thought that I was really going to enjoy this a lot. But I did. But it's not, my favorite thing in the world. I don't think I'm going to pick up anything else that focuses really heavy in a science topic. Does that make me sound close-minded? I hope not. It was good. It's not dense writing at all. Siddhartha Mukherjee writes in a way that's very, very accessible to people. He tells his own family story about mental illness. Some parts I found particularly interesting was the history of eugenics, particularly in the Holocaust. The author also explores sexual identity and gender identity through genetics, which I found also very interesting. And we also meet a lot of the top scientists and philosophers that had a lot to do with the discovering of genetics. It was very, very interesting. I did learn a lot, but towards the end of it, I, got kind of bogged down a little bit and was ready to finish it. So that's The Gene. If this, sounds interesting at all to you, I do highly recommend it. I don't think it's a book that you should stay away from because it is accessible and, very readable. So that's The Gene by Siddhartha Mukherjee. Now, on to 2 books that I absolutely adored. The first being, what should I start with? How about The Passion? This is The Passion by Jeanette Winterson. Oh, this woman can write, everyone. Read her books. Wow. This was one of the most gorgeously written books I've read with magical realism. Oh, and it's also due for many, many, many rereads. I think that I could reread this book and discover new things every single time I read it. There were many parts in this book that flew over my head that, if it wasn't for Booktube. I think Booktube has a lot to do with me trying to rush through books, unfortunately, which is terrible, and that shouldn't be the case. And I will do my best to try to overcome that. But I think in particular with this book, I did feel like I just wanted to get through it so I can move on to other things. So I will be rereading this a lot. I read a really wonderful review of this on Goodreads in which the reviewer talked about, rereading this book and all of the new things that he discovers. So I will be doing that. As you can see, I marked a lot of wonderful, beautiful passages. So this book follows two characters, one being Henry, who is a cook for, Neapolitan, for Napoleon in France, and a soldier. And then also Villanelle, who is the daughter of a boatman who has webbed feet. And their meeting and their relationship. Not only do you have these wonderful, well-drawn-out characters, but you also have the amazing settings that the novel takes place in. And I really believe that the setting also plays a really strong main character. So I want to read you an excerpt. This is the first time we meet the character of Venice. So it says, "There is a city surrounded by water, with watery alleys that do for streets and roads, and silted up back ways that only the rats can cross. Miss your way, which is easy to do, and you may find yourself staring at 100 eyes guarding a filthy palace of sacks and bones. Find your way, which is easy to do, and you may meet an old woman in a doorway. She will tell you your fortune, depending on your face." So we get many passages like that are just stunning to read. Some of the really cool things that I loved about this book were the ways in which passions were explored. Both characters have different ways that they think about passion. Henry is the hopeless romantic who just wants to find love. And Villanelle, who is one of the most interesting protagonists I've ever read about, plays a lot with gender identity. She disguises herself as a man and works at a casino in some parts of the book. She has a secret relationship with a woman as a man at the beginning. And so her passions are a little bit more askew, which I find just fabulous. It's really interesting, too, the way Henry and Villanelle interact with each other reminded me of the movie Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. So Henry, I can't remember the characters' names right now. I can't remember Jim Carrey's character, but he's a lot like Henry, and Clementine is a lot like Villanelle. So let me know if you've read this and that you found that comparison as well. Some themes throughout this novel are, like I said, gender identity, sexual identity. It talks a lot about how war affects people. There's a lot about grief and love. It's just an outstanding, fantastic novel. So if you like magical realism, if you love Jeanette Winterson and haven't read this yet, I highly recommend you pick this up. So that's The Passion. So on to my favorite book of September, and probably my favorite book of the year is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I don't want to talk a lot about this book because I really want every single person in the world to read this book. It is so good. It's a science fiction novel, but if you've never read science fiction before, read the novel. If you love science fiction, read the novel. It's just fantastic. So basically, the novel opens with Rosemary Harper, who is on her way to join a ship called the Wayfarer, which is a tunneling ship full of ragtag misfits that are just a bunch of the most fabulous, well-drawn-out characters that I've ever read about in a book. They're all of different species, but I feel like I want to walk into a room and meet every single one of the people aboard the ship. They are fun and interesting and full of so much character and personality that you really feel that these people are absolutely 100% real and not made up. I just can't believe how good this book was. And it's not short. It's, what is it? 400, a little more than 400 pages. But it just reads so quickly. I didn't want it to end. By the end of this novel, I was so sad because I didn't want the characters to go away. I wanted to keep reading about these people more and more and more. There's so much discussed about in this book about friendship and love and kindness and discovery and diplomacy and human relationships, even though a lot of these characters are not human, but we can apply a lot of what we experience in real life and dealing and connecting with people to this novel. Oh gosh, there's Fiona barking. She loves this novel too, if you can't tell. This book, read it. I swear, read this book. It's so good. Okay, I'm just gonna stop blabbering on and on about this book. And that's it. Of September? That's all I have. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing to this channel. If you want to see more of my crazy ramblings, please subscribe. And I will see you all in the next video. Please remember to be kind, listen to each other, and read some good books. Bye, everyone. I'm waving again. Take care.